And speaking of partners in the marketplace and partners in general, I wanted to introduce my esteemed guest and our speaker today, Birdie out in LA, I think. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you? We're all trying to hunker down here and stay safe, and all of us are trying to become better cooks while we're at it. Perhaps with you, perhaps a better barber. I'm not sure.
Yeah, my girlfriend did my haircut, and I think she has a career in front of her. But yeah, same here. It's also raining and thunderstorming here in Brooklyn, but we can't go outside anyway, so we're in good shape. But just to go through a quick agenda, and I want to let you do an intro as well before we get into all the Q&A. We have a full hour. I wanted to first let you introduce yourself. We have about 40 minutes where we can go through all the Q&A that we've got so far. I want to leave some time on the end, but Birdie, let's do a quick intro and then we can go right into the first question.
Cool. So my name is Birdie deQuay. I own a small agency studio called New Media Agency here in Venice Beach. What I focus on is hospitality, meaning restaurants, hotels, and casinos. A great vertical to be in right now, I'm sure, but ultimately my background is a small film festival called Santa Monica Film Festival, which at the time there were no tools for us to really get into the game at a low cost, so I used the web, which at the time was not really a huge element. There was very little for us at the time, but I kind of taught myself how to use the web and how to grow both in marketing and in design, and that's been my schooling ever since. So, you know, self-taught, and I feel that I've learned a lot, but my biggest and best partner ever has been Wix for over 10 years.
I thought you were going to say me, but Wix too. Okay, that's great.
You're the next thing I was going to talk about. But
continue.
Wix,
sorry.
So amazing. I mean, I've been able to travel. I've been able to just take my business wherever I want to different countries and different languages. And you know what? There's never been a better partner than Wix. So thank you. And Chris, and
let's get into it then. So we have a ton of stuff to get through. We'll go actually to the first question, and again, we'll leave time for some Q&A at the end, but Birdie, we'll kick it off. First question I have here is, what is the best way to make a killer layout? New website, existing website, how do we make a killer layout?
How to make a killer layout? Okay, well, you know, one of the most important things in design, you know, let's think about trends, right? Because trends are really a way for us to communicate. I mean, when you're thinking of design, it's a new form of language. It's just like copy, writing in English or any language. Design is also a form of communicating. It's a language. So if you have a website that only speaks in one language, text, or whatever, and doesn't think about a partner, which is basically design, then you're not really fully communicating who you are. So trends, what are trends? If you were to talk about how to make a killer layout, you know, trends are things that come and go. So don't think as trends as something that suddenly just appeared in the web and, oh, this is a new trend. A trend is something cyclical, actually morphs a long time, goes away and then comes back, which is really interesting because, you know, you may remember the days of Flash, Chris, where Flash was a lot of animated sites that had tons of activity on it, tons of color and splash, you know, and those went away. And guess what? They're back again, and they're back again strong. And I think that's something that you need to think about when you're going to do a killer layout. It's really important for you to evoke, you know, what it is that you're messaging, but also bring that pep and bring that into that. Now, one of the things that you want to do when you're thinking about, you know, design and a killer layout is to also think about what's above the fold and what's below the fold. You'll hear that term quite a lot, but what happens is, you know, the fold is an important part of how you design your layout. So before you do that, you got to sit down and you got to think about your value proposition, what it is that you're going to do online. And that means what is it that you do? What is it exactly that you do? Don't just think about being a jack of all trades, because believe me, people online today have 8 seconds to give you, and by the time you're done, if you don't really express what you're there for, they're gone. So really think about what is it that you do and express that above the fold. I will show you in a moment what I mean. I opened up a tab.
I was just going to say too, we're looking at, I had your website up a second ago. So I'd love to walk us through, like when you say above the fold, what's a good example of that? And then if you're trying to establish your value prop, maybe what questions you have to ask, but walk us through it, please.
Definitely. And look, you guys, if you can do this, if you can put those value propositions questions on paper in front of you during this whole time that you're going to design your new site or redesign it, you're going to end up with a great product at the end. At the end, you're going to get customers, you're going to make money, and you're going to survive this whole thing. So believe me, work on your value proposition. It is key. And your designer will thank you for it, because they're like, wow, find a customer that's, you know, prepared, that's giving me what I need. God bless, that's great. So who are your customers, by the way? That's your second question to a value proposition. Who are your customers? Don't think you're just going to throw it out there, shotgun everything, and you'll get your customers. That doesn't work that way. It works, the way it works is that if you're able to really focus and zone into who your customers are, that's really key. You got to do some research on that. It doesn't take very long, and you can check your competition. Speaking of competition, actually, you got to do some investigating on who your competition is. You know, who else is, you know, selling mugs, or who else is doing accounting, or who else is whatever. You know, check what they're doing and get better than them. Offer something different and take advantage of design to communicate how different you are. Because look, the time that you spend on your website and, you know, taking the time and effort of designing it, and will tell your audience, your future prospect, that that's the time that you're going to invest in their relationship. They're going to feel, well, you know, this person took the time to design something really unique that I haven't seen in 1,000 other visits that I've done before I got here. This tells me that that's the same in my relationship with them. So it's very
can you show us, like, just for example, you mentioned the above the fold piece too. I think when we talk about layouts, just an example of, you know, one thing to start with working above the fold. I guess let's look at one example of where you can start, maybe.
I'm definitely going to do that. And remember, while you're also value proposition, I also want to let you know that, you know, you also have to focus on what it is that you're going to offer your customers, which is different than everybody else. Okay, so do remember that as your value proposition. What are you offering? Be specific about it, and also don't forget, what is your story? We'll get back to that later, Chris, if you want. Thinking about color palettes, you know, don't forget to bring that to your designer or do it yourself. Find really neat color palettes. I use colorhunt.co. Great place for you to find color palettes. Work with free fonts or paid fonts. Fonts tell an immense story, and Wix makes it so easy for you to upload your fonts to the editor. Super easy. So really think about fonts as well. Now, jumping right into some really cool designs which are out there, you can see that a lot of people have killer layouts. This is one of them, one of my favorites.
I like this.
Work, just wonderful work. What's cool about it on here is that there's negative space. There's all this empty white space around it. And guys, you don't have to fill the white space with stuff. You know, let your eyes rest. Let it focus on something that will actually be a call to action, a message, etc. So that's really, really key. This site does it really, really well. But you can go crazy. You can go like dot pigeon. You can
other end of the spectrum. I love it.
You can do stuff and have fun with it too. Grab your pencil, grab your brushes and crayons, whatever it is, your pictures, and just do a mashup if you want to. Look, be as expressive as you can. Now, I opened up this tab, Chris, real quick, because one of the things that sometimes I'm going to throw words at you, and it's not just me, it's your designer and everybody.
You can get technical on me. I'm not much of a designer myself, but that's fine.
You bookmark this site. It's called Design Knowledge Base. Wix has it on their website, and you'll see terms like button hovers, button text, hierarchy, footers, headers, all these, you know, terms that you'll hear about. So bookmark this. It's going to be very important for you in going forward. Now, when you were asking me about a question about design, and I'm going to go into the fold part real quick, but remember, these are four very important things. The readability of your text is very important. Don't clutter it. Don't put too much. Don't have a wall of text on there. The easiness of navigation, be able to make it simple. Don't have a huge menu. That's killer. You're hiding stuff in the menu. Peel away from that menu and bring it onto your homepage. I'll explain. Appealing to a color scheme that is attractive. Don't use things which are perhaps not very attractive. I'm not going to go into it. Everybody has their own taste, but think about color palettes as one resource. And above the fold content. Let's talk about that for a second. On this site, here, what I focused on was somebody that does experiences. Now, experiences are basically where you're able to get outdoor adventures done on the whim. So experiences have to be very communicative. In this case, what I did above the fold is I focused on 3 or 4 things. You climb, you hike, you bike, or you surf. Which one do you want? You click go on to this adventure. Very, very minimalistic in that approach because it's above the fold. And again, do you guys know, Chris, why it's called above the fold by any
I
chance?
don't. I want to hear that piece, and then I want to jump right into the next question because we're gonna have so much stuff. But like, remind me, you kept saying fold before,
No,
please.
it's such an interesting story. In the old days, when we used to have newspapers delivered, remember we only, well, you may not, but newspapers used to be folded on one side. So what you see on one side of the fold or one side of the newspaper was really the important stuff. So you see the title, what happened that day, what are the important action points? Those are called the fold. That's why it's called the fold. So a website above is where all the intricacies happen. Below the fold is where you actually are able to read more about the
We
what's
get
represented.
we get web design tips and a history lesson in newspapers in one session. Who would have thought?
Well,
Let's keep it rolling too, because you were just segueing into the next question that I wanted to ask too, and I appreciate whoever wrote this one because it's true for me as well. I'm not a web designer. How can I make my site look more professional, right? So if we've got a great layout, and we'll share some of those tools after the session, how can we make our site look more professional?
Oh, absolutely. So again, one of the things that you also want to do when you're looking at a website is you want to be able to really work on that fold and now, and think about what kind of images you're going to use. And notice everybody has really great logos, or if they have a simple logo, you kind of need a logo. So let's start with a logo, for instance.
Mhm.
Wix actually has a great logo maker. If you don't want to go out and make it or hire someone to do it, you can also do a great logo maker. You can do a logo on Logo Maker and apply it to your website. So it's super simple to actually use that. So to do that, you go to Wix Logo Maker, you answer just a few simple questions like I'm doing here. I'm not
Mhm.
see it, but you can sort of pick what it is that the kind of styles you like, or you go through the process of explaining
So
to
it's like an
the.
AI tool, kind of learns your palette, what you like, your style, and then it eventually gives you maybe some suggestions.
And it doesn't have to be just for a website. It could be for a business card, for social media,
Nice.
presentations. My God, there's so much happening on Wix right now. You really have to pay attention because it's a whole ecosystem in one self-enclosed one-stop shop. Really, really cool. So in this case, I want to do a logo for a website. I'll click next. And voila, it'll give you a slew of different websites that you can choose, both with the logo mark and with different fonts. And you can go in there and actually edit these with different font palettes, with different color palettes, with different fonts, with
So you have the
icons.
suggestion that you're getting after the AI kind of learns a little bit about what you're looking for. If we want to make our site look more professional and more us, you can customize the logo after you get through the AI piece.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Okay.
right. And to apply it, I'm going to show you how to apply it. You just go into your canvas, your editor, you go into your images, and then in
Hmm.
images, actually upload it into your image center, just like, for instance, a JPEG or a PNG transparency, and you apply it
Hmm.
right in canvas like this. So you finish what you did on Logo Maker and you import it, but and then you drag it and you drop it right into the place that you feel would be best. So one of the things also that I'm sure your audience is going to ask about, I'm trying to go back here, is also to be able to import images and use images that are very high quality. If you don't have them, don't worry about it. That's not a problem because I'll show you how to find some great images using Wix. For instance, on my, this is a mock-up canvas, and I'm going to go through this as we talk about an example or two. But for instance, when you have a need for good imagery, you can click on where you want to place it, I'm above the fold, by the way, and you
Hmm.
can change the column and the background of that column. You can do a simple color. You can add an image or a video. I'm going to go ahead and add a video. But I'm one of those guys who doesn't have great pictures. So I have the option of going to media and finding media that is already free from Wix. I can use Shutterstock, which is a paid stock portal, or you can use Unsplash, my favorite. Unsplash has the best images, which are actually, they don't look stock at all, and they are just fantastic. And it's very easy to apply, Chris. You just select the image that you want to select. In this
Yeah.
case, I'm looking for hiking because I made this mock-up and it's about, power bars and stuff like that. So I'm going to write hike, and the system will actually locate images that are related with your subject matter. And there's so many of them. I'm going to go ahead and locate it. I'm going to get this one, and I'm going to add it to the background. So I'm importing it into the background. But as you can see, damn it, it's not centered, right? So what am I going to
We're going through live examples. I mean, I think what I wanted to see too is just how to make the site look more professional too. And anybody could use the logo maker. You can build your own logo. And I like what you showed before, how you can completely customize the logo. I wanted to ask too, and I think you were just about to get into this in the media manager too, and we'll keep things rolling, is, now that we have maybe a good looking site in terms of layout, it feels professional. What are some of the latest, like maybe design trends or features that you can apply to your website? And I think you were already getting into that, so I didn't mean to cut you off.
Not a problem. Actually, it's pretty cool because, what happens, at least what used to happen, is we would use Photoshop quite a lot. And if you don't have experience in Photoshop, it doesn't matter, because now you can do all of that without having any experience at all inside the Wix editor itself. For instance, one of the things that you noticed when I was importing an image is it needed to be cropped. So I went ahead and used a cropping tool, which is already in the editor. And also you can enhance this with different kinds of variables. You can make it darker. You can use also these different kinds of filters to make it more black and white, or make it more vintage,
Nice.
or archaic. There's so many nice things that you normally would rely on Wix to do, and I'm sorry, on Photoshop to do, and now you don't need to really do that anymore. And you can do auto cutouts, things that are background removals, or you see, like I did right now. And you can also add text on top of that.
So you can crop everything. Wow, that's very cool. This was the same image that you just picked from the website too. So live demos, I love it. Continue, please.
So you can apply that directly into your canvas, and you can do video as well. So all this stuff, including videos, you can get on the Wix portal, or you can import it very easily to make your site very impactful, very professional, and it really communicate something important. But let's also talk about, I think one of the things that people need to be cognizant about is video box and animation. A lot of these new websites, you'll notice very strong with video. And I'm not saying GIF anymore. By the way, Flash and GIF, it's a little bit in the old days. Now we're really going into video boxes and SVGs and transparent background videos. These are actually going to add to that animation, to that allure. You want to keep people on your site as long as possible, right, Chris? You don't want to go in and out.
100%.
Have them stay on as long as possible. So one of the things that I wanted to show you is the use of video boxes. That's, I think, a unique feature for Wix also, is that you're able to go in there and create these micro stories inside of your video box. And that is just such a terrific element, because we're able to add more than just a flat image, or just a video that rotates once in a while. You're able to add these microscopic stories inside of different elements. And I think that's really crucial in the scope of things.
I was just going to say too, it feels like the use of some of the tools that you showed before, like the last one, creates a site effect that's a little bit more interactive. I think one of the older things I see when I look at an old website is it's just flat, it's static, it's navigation up and down is static, and what you're showing here is the opposite of that. Much more interactivity on the site.
Much more, and it's so much. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm an author, I'm a blogger, or I'm an accountant, or no, just because you're in a business that's sort of like a two-way street, or less perhaps creative, doesn't mean that you can't add these moments into your website. It's important to express yourself in this, to show again that the humanistic approach to all this, and it's really key for you to add these elements. Now you can also, in these video boxes, by the way, Chris, you can also add music if you want.
Is that the video box? The what is that? An owl? That's the video box right there.
Absolutely. This is
okay.
This is a. You see, in this design, you're going to see electric gradients. That's a key word for people who are looking for trends in design. You're going to look at paper cuts. You're looking at this tactile type of design that keeps people engaged. And what's happening in this design is that you have a micro story. So you could have, say you're an accountant and you want to talk about your business, and how you can get your stimulus check, for instance, going, and how that works. You can create these little micro stories on video boxes and deliver messages without having multiple videos playing at the same time.
I was just going to say, I like it because it looks newer than where most video that you see is like a YouTube or a Vimeo player, and you have to go and it's inside of the player, but this just looks cleaner, where it's just a little bit more natural.
Exactly. It's more, and you want people to start clicking. You don't want them to sit back and look at your site. You want them to engage. The more clicks you get on your website, guess what? The more they'll go to a form, and on that form, they'll fill out, say, for instance, a prospecting inquiry of their name, what they're looking for, and how to get their business. That is so key. So you want to really get that over the fold, action call, click to action to actually engage in that process. And that's, you know, a very welcome situation. Also, video masking. Have you heard of that?
Is so the video is in the background, and then the video mask is basically the coil that you have playing the video.
Right. So
Okay.
another design trend is this photographic diffusion, if you will, when you actually put the elements together. You know, this is something that we used to see a long time ago during the Flash days, and it's funny. It just came back I saw an episode of True Detective, a great show on HBO, and
Love it.
almost intro, they had this diffusion where you're able to see the outline of somebody, and inside there was another story. So, you know, we're creating this depth of field, this attractiveness that actually is very helpful in design. So Wix actually has a video mask now where you can take SVG elements or shapes and then embed video in them. So you can cut these really cool video. And by the way, Wix also has a video editor. It doesn't just have a video mask maker and a video box maker, but it has a video editor where you can actually import and put all of this together. So again, one-stop shop.
I like that you said that too. Now that we're name dropping shows, since I'm pretty much done with Netflix and Hulu, since we're stuck home all the time, I remember the exact same thing on the show The Leftovers, where in the beginning of their thing, they would show a cutout and it would show a video of it going by. You could do something just like that with video mask.
You know, your canvas is really, this is a canvas, and what it is, it's giving you all the tools for you to be so creative, so engaging, and letting that part of you just come out. And it's funny because, you know, film, video, and photography, it's all kind of coming together now, isn't it? I mean, we see it every day now. And
Yeah.
wow.
So what you're saying is after this, you and I are going to go make a HBO special, and we can use all the tools to at least get a good B-roll going. This is awesome. To recap everything that Birdie's talking about too for the audience too, we showed image filters comparable to what you see on Instagram, but a way better, more web design version of it. We showed the ability to use video mask and video box, and I was just going to ask about this one. You're one step ahead of me. Walk us through shape crop.
Absolutely. Again, so previously I showed you how we incorporate a video into a shape, but you can also do images and a rotating image, SVG, vectorized images, basically the same way into a shape, which is also very attractive. Now, you know, the reason we're doing this is so that we don't have these really edged out kind of designs where, you know, it looks crappy and it doesn't really look professional. Here, it's absolutely clean and absolutely smooth. That's what this vectorized shape cropping does for you. Wix has it, as you can see here.
So you see the image is the same, and then okay, you can see it here where you can select basically like the crop out or the cut that you want to use.
Exactly. So here you'll be able to add these shapes and your pictures, and then on top of that, add certain filters to really give it that nice pop, and it's so important for the attractiveness of your site.
And I'm the Wix guy, so I probably should say this, but these are features. Everything that you just went through, these are the features that are unique to Wix, right? So like, there's a lot of cool tools that you can use on the internet to make your site stand out, but everything that we just went through, from video mask to the transparent videos to shape crop, which is what we're showing here, these are all unique to Wix. So this is a Wix only thing.
And in those unique methods are also different verticals, you know, because you're able to also, like I showed you before, you can also adjust these pictures that you're going to incorporate into shape masking and shape cropping, and then add very trendy accents to it, very trendy things to it, like these gradients that you see, these color tones.
What was the one you said before? Electric gradient?
Yes, electronic gradient, for instance.
Okay.
You have these images, and these white images are basically tubular and almost animated, if you will, and some of them are animated. So there's that style. Another style that Wix does really well is, for instance, this minimalistic approach to this Xerox. You remember the old Xerox photocopies where you kind of have very two-dimensional.
I'm not that young. I remember newspapers and Xeroxes.
Wow. Okay. Okay. good one. Then we're talking the same language. Xerox,
Let
people may forget, but it is a photocopy. But when you take a Xerox, and it was very two-dimensional and very monochromatic, but it was beautiful. It had this
yeah.
Russian line to it that actually gave it quite a lot of depth and simplicity. Again, trends are always coming back, and they morph, and that's what's beautiful about design. It's always coming back. It's very stable.
Segueing, I guess, into the next question too, because you actually touched on this before, and I wanted to pick your brain a little bit more. And if you have only pictures, maybe if you're a new business, or if you're doing a website redesign, you only have pictures that you took like on your phone. Is this enough? And what can you do on Wix to help emphasize the importance of image quality? I think you kind of hit on this before. That was one of the other questions that we had from the audience.
So there's great resources online about that, but aside from being able to go into your editor, for instance, into say your image library, I don't know if you see it, but you have a whole sidebar of different videos that you can use, wonderful videos. You can also import your own, and you can use all these images. And like I showed you, you can also kind of also modify them with filters and cropping and shape shifting, etc. So you don't necessarily need to import images that you feel aren't the best, and you can use the resources that Wix will give you. I think that is fundamental. However, I have to tell you, there's nothing wrong with you grabbing your camera. I mean, especially these days, our cameras are absolutely fantastic. We can go out and take beautiful pictures and videos, and that's actually a human element of just holding up a camera and speaking to our phones about what we do. Nothing wrong with that, and you can import it and automatically have it show up on your website.
Can you still do the same thing you did before, like with one of the Wix stock images? If I import my own photo, can I still use the photo studio like you showed before?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to basically import stuff from your phone, you can airdrop it into your desktop into your canvas. It's very easy to apply and modify, and there's quite a lot of tools that you can also use inside of Wix that will even enhance that. Absolutely.
I see that often too, where it's like if you want to use your own photos, I think it just makes it more personal. The ability to import them, amazing, but like they don't have to look exactly like the way they look on your phone. Is you have that studio where you can use the different filters that we have. You can crop. There's a lot more effects that you can add. I think you can even add text on top of it to make like your own image a little bit more enhanced.
Absolutely. You can
But
also add a combination of those things. Like for instance, in this example here, you can have a slideshow which combines video and images interlaced into one on a slider. So it's 3 tiers. So you can get pretty complicated, especially with Wix coding now, which is a backend component that we have to really enhance the performance of your website.
And the photo studio that we showed before, like we're in a codeless environment there though, right? Like we don't have to be a developer to do any of that stuff that you should with photo studio.
You don't need to code anything here. Everything is completely codeless. I mean, look, everything that I've imported on this example is imported from the media library. It's all for you to edit. For instance, on this one here, on this video box, I'm able to actually control the behavior. I can control the colors. I can also give it a little bit of a pep animation. There's a lot of things that you can do to make it very easy without any kind of coding whatsoever. So absolutely, yeah.
And I know we've looked at the desktop a lot. I think one of the good questions that came in that I wanted to highlight is now, if say for example, my website looks great on desktop, good layout, awesome pop, looks professional with a nice logo. How do I make sure it looks good on mobile too?
Well, that's really easy. Wix is actually divided into 2 parts. You've got your desktop, which you should absolutely finish up front first. So finish everything on desktop first and make sure you're happy with it, and then move on, toggle. Basically, I don't know if you see, it's like a little icon that says mobile. You go into a separate editor, which allows you existing elements and then edit them on a mobile simulator, which this is. So it's very simple. All you have to do is the same way you did it on, for instance, on your desktop. You're able to drag and drop them. You can put things in a way that you feel will work best. It's no coding experience necessary whatsoever. And you can also always play the preview so that you can see how it works on live.
And what you're looking at here too, and forgive me if you may have covered this too, but like if I make edits within the mobile editor, does this change what I already worked on in the desktop?
No, actually, it doesn't. It's that's why I said it's much better for you to start on your desktop and then have it port over. But all the changes you subsequently make on your mobile editor will not affect your desktop. No, no, it doesn't work that way at all. And that's a great thing, actually, very welcome thing. And so, as you can see, it's drag and drop. It's very simple for you to adjust it. It will be this way on all the devices, be it mobile. And but when it comes tablets, by the way, tablets are more veered towards what the desktop framework would look like. So, there you want to really focus on your desktop, hence my comment on that.
I like what you said before too about like a lot of the stuff that we have in Unsplash, and if you wanted to get something from Shutterstock, I mean, we have artists that are submitting stuff to Wix regularly. Because it's vector, it looks, and correct me if I'm wrong, Birdie, because I'm just an old school sales guy, but vector means it's going to look good on all devices, and that includes tablet, not just mobile.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's so important for you to use
Look at
as
that.
many possible because vectorized images do not have any pixelated edges. They stretch as much as you want, and it's very important. And what's great about our editor, our canvas here that we work on, is that it fits every single device perfectly. So that's the thing that we want to focus on, is being as consistent as possible. And also for SEO, which I think is a class you're going to have as well. On SEO, it's really important for you to focus on above the fold and proper loading and proper timing and proper texting and everything that you text, meaning text copy, everything's properly formatted on your Wix editor.
And you just hit on something else I wanted to segue into. We've looked at a ton of really good looking sites, but for anybody out there that runs their own e-commerce business and maybe is on Wix stores, good question that I wanted to answer is, how can I design my online store to get more sales? Not just look better, but make more money, because I think that's why we make websites in some cases to begin with, is we want to make more money. So how can we design our online store to get more sales?
I had a feeling somebody was going to ask me about e-commerce, so I loaded up T-Story. E-commerce is, again, something that we're going to be needing more and more in brick and mortar businesses, right? Because of the fact we're all mostly online. We've been waiting for this moment. It's here now. We're all really all online. And what we can do, and I absolutely love what we can do right now with e-commerce, very flexible, very nimble, very quick. And what's happening here is, with e-commerce, remember I was saying about the above the fold situation, work a little bit on the photography if you can, and place that right on your sliding images, because that's really going to help you evoke what it is that you do, what you're selling, and capture that audience. So as you can see here on this great example, the T-Story, you're able to advertise the fact that you also have a discount if you buy over a certain amount.
That's the banner that you see at the top of the page, where it's like you basically have an advertisement, a call to action of some kind to get a coupon or a discount of some kind.
Exactly, and you have this action call here, which is to shop now, which will take you straight into their shopping cart or into the shopping page, which will then allow you to hover over certain products, get a description of those products, and then take you into the actual cart. And the process of actually connecting all of these mechanisms, be it your marketing, your gateway, your newsletters, and all the things we just mentioned about, the video and the filters and all that, it's all in one. It's all in one CMS. It's all under one management dashboard. So you can have it all centralized. You don't have to go through different, platforms to do that. It's all in there. So you can manage your consumers. You can manage your marketing newsletters, etc. It's all done really, really seamlessly on Wix. So here, for instance, you can add stuff. You can add 3 tiers, actually. You don't have to really be focused on just a size and a color. You can actually add more attributes to your shopping experience. And one of the things that I really like on Wix is you can also add different verticals, different types of verticals. Some are business to business, and you don't want to show the pricing to the public. So you can have a collection done where you can actually focus on the business to business client, or you can have one side, which is just your business to consumer, the one that is selling consumer at large, and have that be shown in a different way with a different price range. So you've got a lot of versatility on these verticals as well using Wix, which I really, really, my clients.
And, I want to save some of that content. We actually do have a great business session coming up on Friday using Ascend. So if you're interested in learning how to make more money on your Wix store, some of the business management tools that we have, we can cover a lot of those. I like what you have here for, is this another shop or an e-coms Wix store?
It is. This is another one. It's funny because in the age of social distancing, of course, I had a client, just to give an example how easy this is. This client came to me on a Sunday morning, and by Sunday afternoon, we had a website up already. This is actually her site with hoodies that she makes, and these hoodies and the pictures of her family and everything were sent to me. We were able to connect her gateway to a credit card processing, and also make sure that all the the social media elements were connected to her canvas. I mean, it was very simple to do
I see
all of
the
this.
CTAs all over it too. Just shop now, shop now. That's what you want to accomplish. Make sure your users can see that. We're going to do another big session on Friday about some of the more business management tools that we have, all housed within the suite of Ascend. It's basically 20 very effective products all rolled into one. So join us Friday if you want to hear more about that one. I want to rush through because I can tell we're getting a bunch of comments, and I want to make sure we can answer some live questions as well, if that's okay with you, Birdie. The next question I wanted to get through is if I wanted to do a design overhaul on my design and content, where can I start? And I guess this is more content and less function, but where would we start?
Right. Well, look, one of the things that you want to do, I think it's really important, is to go back to your value proposition, those 5 questions that I mentioned. I think it's really important for you to focus on what it is that you're trying to attain. Then it's important for you to look at your competition. I use a site called SpyFu, for instance, where you're able to put a competitor's website in there to see the keywords they use, to even find these competitors sometimes. You're able to see if they're spending money on ad buys or not, what they're doing on social media. So if you really want to be competitive and you want to see what's out there, there's nothing wrong with using a lot of tools that are online for you to really hone down on that and do it as good as possible. But one of the things that I also want to say, and for you to be competitive, is Wix also has ways for you to take your shopping cart and pivot that to your social media. So social media is a utility. I mean, you can't get away from it. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, it's all really, really important. And it's all integrated onto your website and into your platform. But also Wix, for instance, you'll see there are ways to promote certain ad buys to make that shopping experience work even better, where you can connect a lot of these ad buys into your website.
This is one of my favorite products because I'm more on the business management and marketing side, but the ability to run your own PPC campaigns to your store where you can launch your own campaign, set a budget of your choosing, target your demo using the Facebook ads tool. This is sort of what Birdie was showing before. I think that's one of the more powerful tools. If you're looking to drive business to your online store, a PPC campaign might be the way to go. I want to ask one last question, and then I have a bunch of live questions that are coming in from our audience. So let me jump into the last one real quick. If I have a really text-heavy website, what can I do in terms of design layout?
Okay, so that happens a lot. You get a lot of customers who are more like left brain, so it's mostly a wall of words, and they need to go on what's called a copy diet, a copy editing diet, where they kind of like to they really have to shrink that down as much as possible, you guys, because what happens is that too much text is it's not even good for SEO, to be honest with you, with search engine optimization. You want to really stack your content in a way that is more readable. Like in this design, for instance, what you'll see is we have highlighted 5 important parts of your website or of the about page of this person as an example, and we gave it nice some highlighted bold titles and sectionals, which also are able to stand out a little bit more. Again, a lot of that nice negative space is important because it's allowing the eye to eat the next section. And we actually anchor certain nodes next to the titles so that they themselves will also stand out. So we make the readability of it a lot more enjoyable and more effective. And then popping in here and there some images, be it your own or the ones you'll get on Wix or outside of Wix. So you're able to really make it a lot more pleasing and engaging. So that's really important.
Even a site like this that has like a healthy amount of text, it still looks great too. And I like what you showed before, how it's grouping, so it's not just a big narration of text over and over again. Thank you, Birdie. I mean, this is great. Thank you, everybody, for sending in all of your questions. Stick with us because we're going to go right now towards our live questions. Birdie, I'm going to hopefully throw you a few curveballs here. So I'm going to get to look at your face when I ask these too. Mohammed is asking, what are the must-have sections for a successful blog? Good question, because we didn't talk at all about the blog.
Oh, well, you know, a blog is, first of all, it's fuel for SEO. So as you know, search engines are always looking for fresh content. So whenever you have a blog, it's important for you to also make sure that you have a section where you can list all the previous blogs and then having those basically anchored in a way that you can see it. Interconnect blogs between one subject matter to another. That's also really important. So you can actually have have the user stay on your website as long as possible, going from one article to another. And now there are great things by Amazon where you can just click and play audio on your blog. So I don't know if you've heard of Polly. Polly will actually let you play the audio that you're listening to. So you can take your blog on a walk, or you can take your blog on a run, whatever we can do these days. But yeah.
Is that a play off of like Polly, like the parrot that talks to you, I'm guessing, or is that why they call it that?
I think so. I think you're right.
Maybe.
But it is great. And also at the same time, when it comes to blogging, blogging shouldn't just be text. Please make sure you're using design in your blogging as well. Make sure you use video in there. Make sure that you can use all the tools that we talked about today, just the same way you're going to do it on your blog.
Those are all supported in the Wix blog when you're building a blog.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So your blog will be pretty much almost a micro story of everything else that's happening on your.
So that's the easiest one, is do everything else that we covered. It's all supported in the blog. I think that sums it up beautifully. Let's jump into the next question. Chris asks, is there a best practice or best practices to make the mobile version consistent? A consistent version with what you're seeing on mobile?
You know, it's the same thing. You have to have your header, your action calls inside of your hero section, which is the top section above the fold, the body. Yeah. Yes, those are absolutely crucial because they are ported over from desktop. But to keep it consistent, you know, don't put stuff on your mobile phone that is going to take too long in terms of reading, you know, in terms of things that are just going to be a little cluttered. You want to unclutter. And that's the reason really design is so interesting these days, is because we're uncluttering a lot of stuff and let people finally focus. So if you're going to be looking at layouts on mobile and you want the best layout, this goes for blogging as well. You want to really be consistent, focus, and don't have distractions. Trying to keep it completely targeted, I would say, is key.
Helpful. Thank you. And thank you, Chris, for asking. Matt asks, we'll keep rapid fire going here, Birdie. Matt asks, how effective are, we kind of covered this, but I want to ask anyway, how effective are vector images on the homepage, and how can I make my website unique with them?
And how to make my website what?
Unique with them.
Well, vectorization is that, you know, has that cleanliness to it because it's not edgy and it's solid, smooth, loads well. And those are the things that we really like to see on mobile, and we like to see pretty much displayed throughout. So yes, use vectorization as much as possible to display fonts, titles, action calls, if you will, even all the artistic elements that we talked about, the graphical elements that we talked about. And it is very important for you to use that on your mobile experience as much as possible so that you have that smoothness and that quality that you want to transmit in your design process. So absolutely use vectorize. And you can, again, you can do that on your editor, or you can do it on Photoshop, exporting, you know, a lot of the elements from, let's just say, a JPEG or a PNG, to export them as an SVG file and importing them into Wix.
Amazing. Let's keep it going. Ella, thank you for your question. Birdie, she asks, what's the easiest / quickest way of moving your existing website content to a brand new design?
Okay, so let's just say, hi Ella. So are you saying going from a different platform into this one? There are different tools, but within
if you're doing a redesign, I guess, I don't know where it's coming from, but if you're you're redesigning your website and you want to start, I guess, from the beginning, how to do it the fastest.
Oh, I can tell you, it's super easy. Actually, one of the great tools that I've been using is something right here called My Designs. I don't know if you guys can see my screen still, but if you can see it, My
Walk us
Designs.
through it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, well, these are my favorite types of, if you will, of my anchored sectionals of a website that I've copied from other projects that I've done, and I've kept them in sort of my chest, and I'm able to apply them as I design. I'll modify the colors as I go. Like for instance, let's just say I really like this pattern. I'll drag it into my canvas, and I'll be able to tweak it. But another thing I can do, and I'll give you a great example if I may, is I'm able to go into, say, I'm going to do a site that I did. I'm able to cut and paste sections of that web page. Let's just say because it has a lot of content or it has a lot of different kind of elements on it, and I'm able to cut and paste it into my new canvas. It's a great feature that just came out. I love this feature because I'm able to actually really save a lot of time, and that's, I think, what everybody's trying to do. So if I were to take a quick example just to show you, if I may, I'm going to open up my editor, and I'll show you how it's done. It'll only take a second, but I'm able to cut and paste a section and post it onto my newer version. So that's something that you can do. You can, again, if you want to say, I really like what I did here, and this is my core action calls, and I want to just copy that. So you can go and you can do a command copy in that. And then you can actually bring it into your canvas, into a separate canvas. This is the one that I was showing you previously. And you can just drop it into your canvas here. Let me show you.
And this is one of the top features too. I know that partners had asked for, is the ability to copy and paste and then save your designs too, but it's important to note users can do the same thing. If you see something you like, if you built something on one page that you really like and you want to use a similar design across a different page, you can do that. And then also for Ella too, we do have actually a checklist of if it's time to redesign your website. There's a full checklist. I'll actually have that sent over, and we can even post that in the comments so you can see a full checklist, because that's a very commonly asked question that we get.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we might have time for one or two more, but I'm sorry, continue, Birdie.
Just to show you, so I took this bar that existed on a separate canvas, which was here. I copied it. I could make this also part of my favorite designs, which I showed you, and I ported it over to a completely separate element, separate canvas, and dropped it in there. So that will save you a ton of time. Sorry.
So could you do that? Like, say, for example, you see something you like on one of like the templates online with Wix. We have thousands, right? You could copy that, then bring it over to your actual site. There you go. There's a good way to save some time, Ella, is use some of the existing designs that we have. Great question. I think we have time for one or two more. Christy asks, I understand the reason for interaction. Can I use Wix to create the interactive part? I'm actually going to answer that one for you because I think Birdie covered it already. Yes, you absolutely can. The interactive part is if you're actually, Birdie, you take it. If you're uploading any content, and I guess you want to use like a video mask, can you import your own?
Yes, you can. You can definitely import your own. I mean, there's a lot of versatility. It's not just your fonts and your images and your video. You can also import your own.
I got so excited. I was like, "Ooh, I know this one."
Yeah, you can and you should. I mean, why not? There's a whole world of different assets that you can bring together on your canvas. Of course, you should.
And let's go over, I want to see if we can ask one or two more questions. I think we still have just a little bit of time left. Can I convert my existing Wix website into a new layout?
So yeah, no, you cannot. You cannot take unfortunately, aside from what I just showed you before with the cut and pasting or using my favorite designs as a way of doing that, you cannot just click a template and have it kind of all of a sudden just change in front of you. No, you can't do that yet. And honestly, I don't think you should. I don't think you should. You're going to find too many errors in that, because when you built this, remember, you were trying to address your value proposition and what you do, and all of a sudden trying to fit that into a template and then doing it again or doing it in several times will only defeat that process. But if anything, you're shooting yourself in the foot. If you can do it, I wouldn't it's not the right way of doing it. Just do it manually. Believe me, it's worth it.
And it's from what you showed before too. There's some tips to do that quickly if you're doing an existing website redesign with a new layout. Last question that I have, unless there's more coming in, and I'm going to try to field as many of these as we can. Elizabeth asks, hello, Elizabeth. As a photographer who started on Instagram, how can I differentiate my social media presence from my photo portfolio if I want to create a website?
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Hi. What a great question. You know what? It's so important because, like I said, social media, it's a utility. You have to have it, but it's really, micro stories. It's something that goes and comes back. It doesn't come back again. It kind of just gets lost in time. Your website is not, and to be able to fuse the two together, to bring in streams of Instagram, to bring in streams of Facebook or whatever you can, and also be able to show what you can not typically see on social media because of the size or just because of resolution or whatnot, but to bring that experience into your website canvas because it's there permanently and it's there with all the calls and all the forms and all the ways to engage people more is actually a wise thing to do. Let's fuse the two together. Let's try and bring people over from social media to your portfolio, to your website, because by doing that, you're going to be able to get a lot more engagement. And really, ultimately, you want to get clients, right? You want to get prospects, and you always get
you
that.
could do it the other way too. I mean, if you love your Instagram page, we have the Instagram feed app. You can bring in photos from your Instagram too. So, I mean, it's not that difficult to bring what you have on social onto the web and vice versa.
Exactly.
Really, really good question. We have a quick question from Taylor. Where can we find some of the features? I would say follow the Wix blog. I'm not sure which features, but like Wix is constantly pushing out like new products into production on a regular basis. So if you're looking for anything in particular, I would check out our blog because there's a ton of content that you can get there. Following along, we still have. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Birdie.
There's a Facebook community which is really strong as well.
Yep. We have another good one. I ran a co-living website. Can you give me some recommendations on members-only pages, best practices with member-only pages?
Oh, it's easy to do. It's basically creating a member website is one click or two clicks basically on Wix. What the process is, you have a homepage and then they have an application form that they fill out. You can have the option of approving them one case-by-case basis or just neglecting the approval process and letting them go right into the member area. And in that, everybody has their own dashboard with their own profile that they can actually build. They can connect and talk with other members, and that is automatically done with Wix. It's again part of that entire ecosystem with one click that you can bring into Canvas and work that in. Best practices of that, what would you say best practices of it are? I guess making sure that you can verify who's going in. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good question of just how to use it. And I think that's a good example of where you want to use it is where you want protected member content or you want to only expose some content behind the wall of becoming a member. That's where you'd want to use that. And I think we can do one more question. My AirPods are slowly fading because we've been on for a while now. What's the best way to utilize a site footer?
The site footer is interesting because, the same way the header is really important up above where you have the menu and you have the contact information and everything. Well, I guess the footer is also really important. What I always do with the footer, I always do two things. I'll repeat the contact information. I will also try to put a little contact form where people can, be it that they're inside an interior page, say for instance, they're in the About page or services or whatever, an interior page. Well, if they look below, they'll always see that presence, oh, it's a contact form, let me go ahead and add to it. But Wix Ascend, which you'll learn about also pretty soon, will also allow
on Friday, we're doing that one.
Yeah, it will allow you to put a chat feature in there to get a notice. I get them on my desktop all the time. And what happens is that you're able to chat with that person immediately. It's such a great thing to put on your footer. But there's tons of things, social media links. Also put your terms and conditions and your sitemap. Look, sitemaps aren't really that used much anymore. for SEO purposes, kind of. But if anything, what happens is that it's important for you to know that there are a lot of anchored links on the footer that are going to be necessary. So, you know, it depends on what industry you're in, be it, for instance, you want to address ADA, which is the Americans Disability Act, and you want to put certain tools available for that, for the audience there to access, then your footer is really crucial. So don't neglect the footer. Do not. It's really just as important as anything else. It's just a little bit invisible.
Got it. Very helpful. And I think we should have at least time for one more. If you have more, keep them coming. Lisa asks, do the video mask and video box work just as well on a mobile site? Good one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They do. You know, that's the thing I think that is video on mobile requests the user's permission to load, right? You can't just load a video background. You can't just load a YouTube on mobile, because you're picking up all that bandwidth and you're using the consumer's bandwidth. But with video boxing and with the tools that I showed you, you don't need that. It's just basically automatically loading in that atmosphere, and therefore it really goes over a big hurdle that we used to have in the past. So again, it makes it much more symbiotic, much more easy for you to flow into the animation process on your mobile. Very important.
Yeah. Verizon also gave me unlimited data for the coronavirus, so bandwidth is no longer a concern for me. We'll see what happens when this is all over. Great question, though. A really, really good question. I think we're almost at the top of the hour. I think with that, I think we can wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I really hope that this was helpful. I hope that you learned a few things I know I did in the world of web design. And most importantly, I wanted to thank Birdie. Thank you so much for joining, man. This was really helpful, and I'm really glad I got a chance to do this with you today.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your interest. Remember, design is a language. It's invisible sometimes, but it's there. Pay attention to it. And about everything that's going on in the world today, you guys will get over this, and you'll see we'll come out of it even better than we were. So God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll sign off. Thanks again. And thanks for joining us.